also seem to mean that they are like men or can replace men. And sometimes we do have to assume the role of a man because they're simply not there. But we can't be men.
Discussing feminism's role in diverting the intelligentsia of the black civil rights movement into this place where the so-called independence of black women was somehow the next stage of their civil rights. In other words, black people had achieved civil rights, and even what's her name, Steinem gave a clue when she said, after black rights, now female rights. So what she was intimating at that point was that after the civil rights movement, we were now going after the black woman. When they did that and enjoined themselves, now remember, the feminist movement was an exclusionary movement. They excluded men. And if they weren't excluding men, the men they brought in were essentially people that supported that undermining policy that feminism was dealing with. And that then gave rise to them enjoining themselves with the homosexual movement and every other movement that began to adhere themselves to the so-called civil rights totem. And what they did was begin to attach themselves to civil rights and use that to dovetail their own individual, quote-unquote, aspects and interpretations of civil rights. So they went after the black woman, and they got her. They got Coretta Scott King. She became feminized. They got our sister Malcolm's wife. She became part of the Boule. And they went after them, and of course, our sisters were doing it in a way hoping to raise their status in society by enjoining and becoming part of the status quo when they began to not realize that it was there, what they were pushing in their policies that were promoted by people like Steinem and black feminists like Audre Lorde and Angela Davis and all the rest of them that came out from that ilk. They began to promote independence in women, which was the same slave context, the same slave blueprint that they used. Turn the tables, flip the polarities. Men by nature were independent, women were dependent. That dependency didn't mean they were weak. It meant that they had a specific dependency. We depended on one another, but we solved our compatibility in different ways. The masculine principle, being independent, gave him the ability to solve problems quickly for the woman. So he could go out, hunt, find the right place for her to be, to raise the child, to do all these things. Independence is what drives the masculine principle. When you subvert that and you make him dependent through the mother, by teaching the mother that you raise your child in a certain manner, or else he will be killed like his father, which is what you see today. 75% of the black household is now raised by its women. You see now that you shift that equation, making the man dependent and the woman independent, which is against her nature. It looks good in the beginning when you have a society supporting your, quote, independence, but then there is something intrinsic to the psychology and the inner makeup of a woman that is not about being just independent. She may want that for the moment, but then she may then begin to see her own psychic instinctive needs begin to pull her back into that dependency mode. Now that she's independent and got all that she wants and all that she's ever gotten before, now her dependency is becoming this emotional situation, and she's filling up the doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists' offices now because she's dependent on that thing, that intangible thing that she cannot get in her social independence. And that was the trick. That's what pulled her out of the home. That's what made her become contentious and combative with the masculine principle rather than compatible. So the feminist movement, which was created by Rockefeller, funded by Rockefeller, and given the kind of money to be able to promote its agenda, is what then undermined what the civil rights movement was supposed to have done for people, black people, collective as a family. It separated us. It drove a wedge between us. And now we have this madness, this sickness, this collateral damage that we want to call black society today. And now we wonder why.